In today's video, we're going to cover the secret to getting more views on your Facebook Marketplace or your Facebook Shop listings, okay? And this is a question I get almost daily. It's also a question I see a lot of people posting in a lot of the Facebook groups, and it seems to be a prevalent issue that a lot of people are facing. There's constantly people saying their views are down, or maybe, they're listing a bunch of things, but they're not getting views. And so one of the questions I get asked frequently is, what can I do? Are there any specific things I can do to ensure my listings get more views? Okay. So we're going to cover it in this video. Okay. And to answer your question, there's literally no secret. Okay. But here are two concrete things that you can quantify, that you can focus on, that will ensure your listings get more views and your account gets more views overall. All right. The first thing is listing better, more in-demand products, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, you got to do more product research to list products that are more proven both on Facebook Marketplace as well as other places to have demand already, right? There's two ways to basically approach a business, and in this specific case, approach an e-commerce business, right? You can list a bunch of things and that you think are cool, or just a bunch of random things, and kind of take like the numbers approach and throw shit at a wall and hope, and see what sticks. Or you can take the more product research type of way, and it's like go to the market and figure out what the market actually wants and then go after that, right? Now, I'm not saying either is better. They both have their time and their place. But in this specific aspect, you want to focus on better, more in-demand products. And there's so many easy ways to do that and do product research, okay? So to name a few, you can snipe products on eBay. There's a number of ways to do that. You can use software, out there. I've touched on software before, like Zeek Analytics, where they're literally going to provide you like the top, few hundred things that are selling well on eBay. Obviously, those have demand. And then you can literally look at the software and figure out who's drop shipping, reverse engineer their supplier. You can also search for private label brands, on eBay, figure out who's listing those private label brands, because obviously that's an indicator, not always, but usually an indicator that person is drop shipping. And we're going to go down some other examples here in a second, but the reason that that's so effective, even though it's not specifically with products on Facebook, is because if there's demand on eBay, well, chances are there's going to be a similar demand and a similar, because it's the same market overall as US buyers, it's not going to be exactly the same on Facebook Marketplace, but chances are if there's products that are having demand and high demand on eBay, well, that demand is going to carry over in a marketplace as well, okay? Now, the second one is using software on Amazon to gauge products with high demand. There's a bunch of software out there. There's a bunch of ways that you can utilize it. My favorite is Jungle Scout, but there are so many out there that you can use. And there are a number of ways to approach that as well. Again, I'm not going to get too much into these. I already kind of touched too much on sniping products on eBay because I have like 10 to 20 minute tutorials on how to actually do this, the nuances of it, and how to actually go through it yourself. Sniping products on Facebook Marketplace or scanning through as a buyer on Facebook Marketplace. You can do this on desktop, which is easier to kind of move around, but it's actually easier to see hot selling products that get like the hot seller product badge on mobile if you're looking as a buyer on mobile, right? So hop onto Facebook as a buyer, see like kind of what stands out to you, see what kind of products Facebook's suggesting you, and when you click on the actual product, there's actually a hot seller badge on certain products. If a product has that hot seller badge, it's got a lot of demand, it's selling a lot, and some listings you can actually see how much a product has sold in the past on Facebook, okay? All these ways are quantifiable, easy ways that you can figure out ahead of time listings and products that are going to have a higher likelihood to sell because there is demand on either Facebook or other marketplaces where that demand obviously will trickle over to Facebook as well, okay? So list better, more in-demand products, okay? And the second one is to list more, okay? And for some reason, like I get worked up and emotional about this because I hit this home all the time, whether it's like a student in my course, whether it's somebody in a Facebook group, I see it all the time. But I don't want to get too wrapped up in like playing the blame game here, but most people don't list even close to enough, okay? Not everybody, okay? So if you're listening to this and you're listing a lot, obviously this doesn't apply to you, but most people, okay? Most people don't list even close to enough, and then they complain that they're not getting views or sales, okay? At the end of the day, this isn't like a magic pill, this drop shipping business model, right? Like you're not just going to list a couple of things and start making thousands of dollars. It doesn't work that way, okay? But you can make a lot of money doing this if you're willing to put the work in. And that doesn't mean that you need to be listing 8 hours a day, but it does mean that you need to put some work in and list, okay? There's no reason you can't be listing 50 to 100 products a day. And even if you're not using the bulk tools, just listing one at a time on ZDrop is still still super, super quick. And there's no reason you shouldn't be listing at least 50 products a day. So list more, okay? And obviously, if you are listing a lot and you are actually one of the people that are out there listing a lot and you're not getting any sales or any views, on some products, not all of them, right? Because there is, going back to like the 80-20 principle, if you list like, for example, like 1,000 items over a month or whatever it is, right? Like the 80-20 principle, Pareto's principle, whatever that thing's called, is like basically like about 20% of your products are going to have 80% of your sales, and the other 80% of your products are only going to give you about 20% of your sales, right? So the key there is the majority of your items are not going to either get what am I trying to say? The majority of your items are not going to get a lot of views, or they're not really ever really going to sell, and the majority of your items aren't going to really be accountable for the majority of the profit and sales that you're making. But a small minority of them will, okay? So once you do it a little bit and you get that data, look at your data. That's why I say keep track of it all in an Excel spreadsheet, because then you can go back, maximize it, and figure out what type of products are selling well for you and why, okay? Then you want to maximize that 20% that's bringing 80% of your sales and continue to double down on that, okay? At the end of the day, I can talk about theory. Everyone can give you like strategies for product research, and they help. Don't get me wrong, they help a lot, okay? But nothing is going to speak more to your success than the actual, tangible experiments that you run and the data within your business, because nobody can replicate that. Only you can see that information. And that's going to be the biggest thing that you have going forward that's going to be able to help you differentiate and separate yourself from the competition, okay? So at the end of the day, it is a numbers game, okay? It's a numbers game, and the algorithm on Facebook Marketplace is very, very similar to YouTube's, and I've noticed this, okay? Basically, what it does is it gauges how much to suggest your listing, and that's like just like on YouTube, like the majority of views now do not come from search. They don't come from people that are subscribed necessarily. They come from YouTube suggesting videos to people. If you haven't seen like the Social Experiment or whatever that's called on Netflix, the documentary about Facebook and social media, basically what they do is they have data on you, and they know everything about you, and they suggest products, posts, comment threads that are going to be more likely to get you to engage on the platform, because then they can keep you on the platform longer, which they can then show you more ads and they can make more money, right? It's the same thing with YouTube suggesting videos. It's the same exact thing with Marketplace, as well as people or Marketplace suggesting people products in their newsfeed, right? So basically what I'm trying to say is it gauges how much to suggest your videos and your listings, or your listings, based on the engagement right off the bat and the engagement trajectory of a listing, okay? Meaning that if your listing gets no views in the beginning, it will struggle to get many more over the long haul, period, right? Because Facebook has no evidence that anyone is interested in it, so then they have no incentive to continue to show it to anybody else. But on the other hand, if your listing gets some traction in the beginning, well, then they'll continue to test it and continue to show it to more people. And then obviously if it gets more and more, it's a snowball effect. And if it gets purchases, again, it's a snowball effect, and it will continue to get more purchases, okay? That's why some listings take off when you list them and most do not, okay? It's a numbers game. Again, it's the 80-20 principle, and a lot of it has to do with the product research and the products that you're listing, but there's so many other factors, right? Like what time you're listing it, where you're listing it, who's initially seeing it. Like at the end of the day, you can control a lot of variables, but you can't control them all. So it is a numbers game. You don't need to overcomplicate it, okay? So here's two examples of what I mean, right? There are some videos on YouTube, to tie back to the YouTube example, that I've posted that have got next to no views, okay? But then I posted a very similar video, maybe like a clipped version of that video, or a video that was very similar that I edited for like a course or something that I threw onto my other channel. And that video actually took off, not all the time, right? But I posted a very similar video to my other channel, and it got a lot better views. And, the only different thing in that instance was when I posted them and their trajectory of views that they got and interest that they got in the beginning, okay? Hence, YouTube's algorithm is basing whether or not to suggest my videos to more people based mainly on how it does within like the first 24 to 48 or maybe 72 hours max, okay? And the same exact thing is true with the second example with Facebook Marketplace and Facebook Shop listings, okay? There are products that I've listed on Facebook Marketplace with personal profiles that literally get no views, right? And then I take that same product days later and I post it to my shop, or weeks later on like another personal profile, and for some reason it takes off. Again, not all of them, but some of them, right? And the only difference there between the time that I listed it, or sorry, the only difference there was like the time that I listed it and the initial trajectory that it had, right? Which basically means that we can assume that the initial performance of a product and how people engage with it leads to the overall performance and its overall trajectory. And that leads me to two main ways that are essentially going to give you more at bats, right? Because if you're playing, like, for example, like you're playing a baseball game and you're trying to make a comeback and you're down like, a couple runs, well, you clearly have a higher statistical chance to come back if you have 50 at bats left in the game rather than if you have 5, right? At the end of the day, it's simple math. Don't overcomplicate it, okay? So the answer to your question for anybody out there that's listing like or asking like, why am I getting no views? How can I get more views? Well, do product research to find better products and list better, more in-demand products and list more.